Kellyanne Conway's husband co-authored a new column in the Washington Post saying the president's plan to end birthright citizenship is unconstitutional. George Conway, a noted and respected conservative attorney in Washington, writes, along with Neil Katyal, quote, such a move would be unconstitutional and would certainly be challenged, and the challengers would undoubtedly win. Our Constitution is a bipartisan document designed to endure for ages. Its words have meaning. They cannot be washed away. President Trump is trying to rally his base just a week before Election Day with this legally questionable promise of getting rid of birthright citizenship. The president saying he'll sign an executive order, and that will be enough to end the right to citizenship for anyone born in the United States, including the children of non-citizens, including the children of undocumented immigrants. Out front now, First Lady Melania Trump's immigration lawyer, Michael Wilds. He's also the author of Safe Haven in America, Battles to Open the Golden Door. Michael, thanks for joining us. You helped the president's wife and her parents become U.S. citizens, but we should note you're also a Democrat and a former mayor and a current mayoral nominee in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. What do you say to the president's promise to end birthright citizenship with an executive order, and that's going to be enough?
Two corrections. It's Englewood City, not Englewood Cliffs. And I represent Mrs. Trump on immigration matters, but I helped her parents more recently. And I'm here as an individual lawyer, not in any official capacity of the First Lady. Look, do I feel it meets muster? Absolutely not. This is, again, a political ping pong that's going to be bantered about in the next couple of days. An executive order, Jay, cannot be put forward unless the constitutional authority is vested in the president. Here in Article 1, Section 8, it's with Congress. Did Congress ever cede authority to it? Did they remain silent in this? Absolutely not. Supreme Court held a hallmark case in 1898 after the 14th Amendment had been ratified 30 years before that. Again, those hallmark amendments, 13, 14, and 15, dealing with the Dred Scott and the evolution of the Reconstruction area. Amendment 14 itself stating specifically that persons born in the United States are American citizens. Again, articles in the Constitution referring to it as well. And finally, the Supreme Court then coming up with a decision. At the time, two parents who were subject to the Chinese Exclusion Act had a child that was born in the United States, and it was well settled by the Supreme Court. And if that wasn't enough, go to 1952, the Walter McCarran Act, 18 U.S. Code, Section 1401. A child born in the United States is an American citizen.
Okay, so you don't buy it. But let me ask you this. What if the president did sign this executive order, if it actually exists and isn't just a mechanism to motivate his base for the midterms? He did sign this executive order. It was challenged in court, and then it worked its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Is it not possible that it could be upheld and these immigration laws and the 14th Amendment to the Constitution would remain but not applied to the children of those who are in the country illegally?
So, first of all, it's dead on arrival in a district federal court. It's not going to an appeals court, and it's not getting to the Supreme Court. That's just plain fact. But let's pull the lens back, if we can, on the territory here. A child who comes to the United States or is born in the United States, and my father, who's an immigration lawyer, had a hallmark case where a child was born on an American-flagged airplane. When the plane landed, the mother had immigration issues. The child was an American citizen. But you understand, fundamentally, when the case hits the court system, it is not going anywhere. And there are mechanisms and protections to protect the using or bootstrapping yourself in an unsafe way. Look, the dialogue has deteriorated tremendously. The notion of an anchor baby and the fear that the president is instilling is just not factual. I have not seen in my 30 years of practice a woman coming in pregnant so that 21 years later, yes, Jay, 21 years later, a parent can then be sponsored by a child, but only if that parent entered legally and overstayed. So we have legal mechanisms, and we shouldn't be playing to fears. And this is just another political effort, unfortunately, where immigration is a ping pong. And again, we have foreign students that are looking to onboard into the workforce. We're going to be competing against them. We're distracting the most vulnerable. And scores of people watching this, clients that are coming to immigration lawyers throughout the nation, are living in fear every time something like this happens. Do not fear, this won't work.
Here's the argument Vice President Mike Pence made today, not surprisingly, in support of President Trump. Take a listen.
We all cherish the language of the 14th Amendment. But the Supreme Court of the United States has never ruled on whether or not the language of the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, applies specifically to people who are in the country illegally.
Is he wrong?
Yes. 1898, they ruled in U.S. versus ARC, that hallmark case where the difference of just Sulai and just Sang Juan. Again, we want to understand that most European countries have a bloodline for citizenship. There's something very charming, Jay, in America that we have a combination. There's some that you can inherit, and there are some where you have to earn it by having boots on the ground, that a person who's born physically in America can actually aspire and become president of the United States. And that whole articulation, that little caveat, read the 14th Amendment itself. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. The notion of them being subject to something else, it's in the context of the civil rights that were being accorded post-slavery and so forth.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate it. Out front next, our race of the day. Tonight, we're going to take you to Missouri, where a